Welcome back. Well, general elections are scheduled to be held in Zimbabwe come the 30th of July. The country will be electing the president and members of both houses of parliament. Now, is the country ready for these elections? Well, to find out more, we're very pleased to be joined in studio by Mr. Qhubani Moyo, who is the commissioner of the Zimbabwean Electoral Commission. Qhubani, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome.
Thank you very much for having us here today.
Look, Qhubani, let's start with this. Opposition parties have been very, very unhappy with the access to the voters' roll. Has this been finalized and sorted?
It's been finalized. All parties that want the voters' roll now have the voters' roll. They have it in PDF format, and they also have it in analyzable form. So I think we are done on the voters' roll.
All right.
But look, when you talk about elections, you're talking about contest for power, and there will always be issues that arise. And we are dealing with them from time to time through stakeholder engagement.
Look, let's talk about those issues. I mean, we've seen the current political climate in Zimbabwe. We saw a blast just 2 weeks ago, a serious attempt, and we've heard about serious attempts on the political leaders' lives. Is the conditions conducive for a free and fair election in Zimbabwe?
The conditions are very conducive for a free and fair election. The incident of the bombing in Bulawayo was isolated. It's being dealt with by the law enforcement agents. We wait to hear what they are saying. But in terms of fulfillment of the requirements of legislation, the Commission has done substantially well in terms of production of a voters' roll that is credible. The Commission has also done very well in terms of following issues that should be done in terms of legislative framework. And the Commission has done so well in terms of pushing for opening of media space. This time around than any other time, the media space is open to all players, including opposition parties, which in the past elections were not getting that space. But most importantly, Zimbabweans that are contesting are given space to go and have rallies and associate in any parts of the country. There is no area which is said to be a no-go zone.
Okay, and when does that campaigning close, actually?
Campaigning closes 48 hours before the actual election starts, yes.
All right. Look, let's talk about some of the outstanding work that, of course, the Commission, the election body still has to do in terms of voter material and, of course, the voter stations on the day. Talk to us about all of those.
I think the crucial thing is the printing of the ballot paper. The Commission is busy at the moment. We are printing the ballot paper. It was an issue that was conflictual amongst parties because parties wanted to see where we are printing the paper. The Commission did take the parties to go and see where we are printing, and they were able to view that printing is done in Zimbabwe. There were some myths that were there before, that in previous elections there's been a ballot paper that had a migrating mark, where if you mark for a particular candidate, it will migrate to another.
What?
Political parties are satisfied that that is not true for now, but we continue to engage. But the Commission is also working tirelessly in terms of putting in place the necessary logistics for preparation of the election. For instance, when we were doing the last round of voter registration, we had a huge last-minute rush for voters. As a result, we had to create more polling stations.
But Qhubani, hasn't Zimbabwe yet gone for the new technological way of capturing the voters' details at this point?
Yes, we capture the details using the biometric system, yes, where we take fingerprints and the photograph of the voter. But that doesn't mean that when we do the voting, we're going to vote electronically. This is for purposes of registration. This came up because we realized that one of the areas of conflict was the issue of a voter's roll, that in many ways than one, it lots of problems.
It can easily be manipulated as well, Qhubani.
Yes, the older one could be manipulated, but the current one is such that you can't manipulate it because it takes your bio features. But over and above that, whereas in the previous elections, the name of a voter could appear in various polling stations within a ward. This time around, your name only appears in one polling station, which means you go there, you vote, and your name is cancelled off. So possibilities of double voting or multiple
So is it like South Africa where you basically go register and you vote where you basically registered?
Exactly, yes. Yeah, which is a huge development from previous years, where you could register in one area but vote in another.
All right, now, Qhubani, there's outstanding issues here. I mean, Peter Ndoro, my colleague, is also Zimbabwean. There's been this issue that Zimbabweans in the diaspora are not able to vote. I mean, is the Commission looking to remedy the situation, and when?
No, the Zimbabweans in diaspora will be able to vote in future. That's our view as a Commission. But the current law as it stands, it doesn't allow for voting to happen. And recently there was a constitutional court ruling that said that the constitutional provisions do not allow for voting in diaspora. It is our hope that Zimbabweans in diaspora and even local can lobby Parliament to change legislation so that when it is changed, then we can implement that. The Commission is always ready to ensure that all Zimbabweans in every part of the world can have a chance to vote.
It's just legislation that needs to be passed through. All right, and before I let you go, while we're talking about people, Mr. Moyo, Zimbabweans, we do know this is a fact that they've never had any faith in the previous elections before. How can you reassure them right now that these elections are going to be different? If I can quote him, Sipa, before he died, he said there's never been fair and fair elections in Zimbabwe, and he was on an inside.
Well, I think there's been so much transformation in terms of our institutions, especially the Commission itself. And this new PVR technology that we're implementing is a huge step towards ensuring that people have confidence in the processes. But most importantly, there's been so much opening of space for all political players to participate openly in elections. And this new dispensation has also taken out lots of fear that was associated with the previous dispensation. Hence, we have so many candidates. A whopping 23 candidates are contesting for the office of president. A clear indication that they have confidence in the electoral processes and the way the Commission is doing its business.
All right. And have you provided extra security in light of the recent events?
The candidates that are contesting want security. Can get security. There's been
what about the election officials, though, Qhubani? That's who I'm most concerned about, and the voting stations and so forth. Will there be added security at those polling stations?
Yes, there is security that is provided during election day.
Okay.
Well, commissioners are also supposed to have no security, but we are moving on our own. We're not afraid of anything because we know that we are doing the right thing, and Zimbabweans are happy about the process that we are doing as a Commission.
Qhubani, thank you so much. We wish you all the best come the 30th of July. All eyes will be focused on Zimbabwe. We're going to see if any of what you've told us here today is true. That is Qhubani Moyo, the Zimbabwean Commissioner for the Zimbabwean Electoral Commission, talking to us about the state of readiness for Zimbabwe as they go to the polls come the 30th of July. Peter, what's happening?